In this video, we're going to take a look at Shield Dice Studios' latest expansion for the scenario builder called City Streets. And in this video, we're just going to jump into it and create a scenario. So let's get into this. Welcome to Solitary RPG. So recently, Jay sent me his latest expansion for the scenario builder called City Streets. And what this is, it's a simple tool that you can use to generate basically a bustling city and create some conflicts and obstacles that characters will have to face and just have fun with your game. This has been a lot of fun to play with. If you're not familiar with the scenario builder, this is available on DriveThruRPG. I will put a link in the description below. And it's just a really simple concept using cards and tables to create a scenario. All Jay's done is he's taken the same format and created one for City Streets. And I've had a lot of fun playing with this. I'll be upfront, Jay sent this to me free of charge. He had no expectations for me to do a review on the channel or do anything, but I really like Jay's work. And if you're not familiar with Shield Dice Studios, it's the Realm Fables series that Jay created a long time ago. Also created Loom and a lot of other materials. And I've just been a fan of everything that he's put out. And also, if you're a fan of Shield Dice Studios and you back the world building Pocket Chronicles, this is something that you can actually incorporate into your world building because you are creating cities and you can name these cities and plop them into your world building. So what do you need to get started? First, you'll need City Streets, the scenario builder. I'll put links to Shield Dice Studios in the description. For this particular scenario, you're going to need graph paper. You're going to need a deck of playing cards. We're going to use the Loom playing cards because they're cool. You'll need a variety of dice, so just have those ready. Pencil, eraser, something to take some notes on, and you're good to go. So what do we got here? So if we just start flipping through the pages, it's going to give you some basic information on how to use this. You're going to roll a d6 to decipher the district layout. So what's cool about this city street builder is you can just build a small district within a city, or you can take a bunch of the different districts and build just a big city and create all kinds of chaos and confusion in the city, create like just little things that go on. One of the hard things about playing in a city is you go to this big bustling city, you describe it that way, but you may not have anything to do in the city. It's just like, oh, it's a big city. Well, this is going to add a lot of little details into that city just to make it come to life, and that's what's cool about it. Now we're going to get into making the maps. This is going to talk about taking multiple districts and creating a larger city. It's just going to give you some information that you need to know about creating different trigger points or different points of interest, and that's what this is all laying out. Now we're going to get into the actual tables and everything that goes with it. So creating your district scenario layout, you basically roll a d6, you pick which one of the districts you're going to roll. If you don't want to roll, you can just pick. That's up to you. This is how you'll lay your cards out, and then Jay's just giving you some ideas on how to put a bunch of buildings in it. It's all going to be just a bunch of square buildings. We're not going to be artistic in any way, shape, or form. Just going to put a bunch of square buildings out there and say, here's your city street. Keep it simple, keep it achievable for everybody. But that's why we're using graph paper. So you're going to want that graph paper because that makes squares a lot easier. Sure, you got a ledger here, a light gray dotted line being district borders, saying this is the district. And then darker lines being streets. You're going to have street events. You're going to have crossroad junction events. And then you're going to have how you enter. That's your ledger. Simple, easy. And then we'll start getting into all of the different things that can come up and happen in those areas. And the rest of this book is just going to be charts. Running you through all the different things that can happen. And then at the back, Jay's going to give a great example. So with that brief overview, we need to get started and see what we get. We rolled a 1, so we're going to create a 4-card layout just like that. So I'm going to draw my 4 cards and then lay out my map, but we want to give our cards a quick shuffle. So we got 4 cards, so we're going to do them upside down so we don't know what we've got. And that's all we're going to do with cards for this build. This is it. So we got our 4 cards, and what we're going to want to do is kind of sketch them out onto our graph paper. So this is not the most exciting of videos, so I will cut this, but I'm just going to kind of sketch them out. And then when I'm done, I will flip them over, and then I'll just write, like, this is the 4 of hearts. And then this card's done. I no longer need it. And I'm just going to move through and do that for everything. So let me break away and I'll be right back with this. And we just kind of lightly drew out some lines for our city. So on the map itself, it tells you your entrance is going to be here. So we're going to identify the entrance into our city. I can't draw fancy arrows, but this is our main road in. And these are the junctions that we're going to have. So these are going to be street events, and this is going to be a junction event. So we're just going to put little circles on the paper to represent the different locations. You don't have to put them in exact order if you don't want. You can put one further away and closer. Yes, it says you kind of do it all centered and everything's symmetrical, but you can be creative. But we have a 4 of hearts, 10 of spades, 3 of clubs, jack of diamonds. So that is where we're at so far. So the first chart we're going to roll on is the city surroundings. We haven't decided what district this is, but we want to know what's around us because that can influence what we actually have in our city. So let's roll a d20. I rolled a 19, Spirit World, Underworld, Beyond. So that is what's floating around our city. That doesn't mean that we still don't have woods and all that, but maybe there's kind of an underworld vibe going on in the surrounding areas, or something from beyond, something cosmic, something spiritual. We could easily, just based on these words, Spirit World, Underworld, Beyond. Maybe there's some sort of some dwarfs dug too deep in the mountains and unleashed an unholy beast. We can always go with that. So I'm just going to make a note of that. And let's just say this doesn't work for you for whatever reason. You can always have a plan B. So we write down our initial response, but we don't want to block our creativity because of our first. So we can roll again. I rolled a 15. So here I got Boreal Forest, Peaks, and Timberline. So we can just kind of write that down as maybe a secondary, but we can just add in these different details as we're going, so we're just not blocking ourselves into our first result. And that's what I love about these tools, is you can just start rolling a couple times and really just adding all these details together. If we wanted to roll a third time, we can, but I think we have enough. We've kind of we've got this spirit world or underworld vibe. So we got this forest. So maybe the forest is starting to die, like pull from the Lord of the Rings. Why not? The forest is starting to die because of something evil out in the woods. So we can go with that. So we're going to flip this over. So now we've got to roll what kind of a district did we create, and we've got a D6. There's not an actual chart that you look at. You just kind of go to the next step. So let's see what this district's actually going to be, because that's what's going to really determine how you make your buildings. If it's a noble place, that might be where the palace is, so that might take up more space. But if it's a merchant space, those could just be a bunch of little booths with a fewer bigger buildings. So that's why you want to wait before you start drawing all your buildings in. We rolled a 3. So what did we get? For the 3 is we got a military district. Because of the card results, that's going to tell us what we have in our military district. So I drew the 4 of hearts for this quadrant. which is going to make it like a training grounds of sand. We're just going to make a little note here of what we rolled or what the cards are telling us. I guess we could just say like a gladiatorial pit might be the centerpiece. Like we got like this big pit here, like this is the training grounds for jousting and horsing and doing all those things. But maybe around it we might have like a stable and barracks and an armory. Maybe a blacksmith is in here, so we can start really adding in those details to this section of our city. Next thing I got is a 10 of spades, and this seemingly abandoned keep and alleys. Maybe it's still going to be part of the barracks and stuff, but maybe a section of it is just going to feel like there's like an abandoned keep, and there's going to be a bunch of alleyways, so we can add some intrigue and things like that. Then we have the 3 of clubs here, a great forge within a sunken site. So this is really cool. So this is where our blacksmith is going to be for this kingdom. And we just keep writing down our details. This is all just going to be detail work. And then here we got the Jack of Diamonds, which is going to be a huge prison. Oh, this is awesome. Looking at the results that we've got so far, this is going to be the entrance into this military complex. These are going to be our main roads, and we're going to create events for the streets here, and then we're going to have a main event. And then once we start plugging in all our buildings, that will make like these alleyways, and we can put in this watchtower and the huge prison. So with walls, so obviously like everyone's idea of huge is different, but maybe this takes up the centerpiece with walls, and then within it we just have a huge prison. And then we also have a watchtower, so we can kind of just go with a real basic design. I'm not drawing very well. Like we have watchtowers around the prison, which all fits the theme. Here we have a huge forge within a sunken site. Well, what is a sunken site? That is for you to determine. It could be an underground forge, so maybe the surface area doesn't really have anything going on. Maybe it's just kind of a blank area because the forge is underneath, or maybe sunken could just mean it's just down like a level or two, like a sunken living room or something like that. You can create that, but this is going to be where our forge is. This is our training ground. And then maybe this abandoned keep, it's seemingly abandoned. Doesn't mean it's abandoned. Maybe this is where the wizard brews up some stuff. Maybe it's a place that people kind of stay away. Military people might stay away from because maybe they don't feel comfortable around all the witchcraftery or the magic stuff. So maybe the keep will be off to the side because it's like not really in the main heart of everything. And then around it we'll have some alleyways like throughout this section, and just kind of keep it like that, but we'll fit with the theme. But that's kind of where I would go with the words that I'm getting so far. But maybe as we go on, all of this can change simply because we're going to get more inspiration as we roll and take it from there. So that is our military district. So we're going to then just keep moving along. Like you got religious districts, you got a slum district, but then we got street events. So what you have for street events is you have a D4 roll, and that will determine which chart you're going to go on. And we have 4 different street events, so I'm not going to roll the D4. I'm just going to make each one of these street events be one of the ones listed so that we can kind of get a better flavor for everything that's going on. So we will label these. This will be number 1, number 2, number 3, and number 4. And then we will just write that down. I'll give myself some space in between each one of these, so that way we can add in any additional notes. So street event number 1 is going to be an obstruction, and then we're going to roll a D20. My obstruction is a 10. Collapse column, stone dust. So let me just write this down, and then we will talk about it in just a second. All right, so we got collapse, column, stone, and dust. And the way I use these street events is I use them as trigger points. So when my PCs are in this area, so we're going to say this area here, like they're walking down the street, or if they're a building or something they're visiting over here, this will be a trigger to say a column collapse. There's stone and dust all over the place. And why did it collapse? We don't know yet. We haven't been playing the game, but if we've got this spirit world, underworld, beyond, we've got some sort of an enemy out there. Maybe it was an attack. Maybe it was sabotage. Who knows? What was the column holding up? We'll discover all that. But that's kind of what this is going to be about, is these are going to be trigger points for when your PCs are walking in the area. So now we're going to move on to the next one, which is going to be an NPC action. We haven't created an NPC yet. We haven't done anything, but we're going to create an NPC action. Got a 20. A child cries for help from a window. So number 2, let me just write this down. So now we have another event. So as the PCs are walking in, we have this little NPC moment that will trigger in this area here. And it's going to be a child cries for help from a window. Why are we, like, first of all, this is a military ground. Are the cries coming from this seemingly abandoned keep, which would be most likely? Do your PCs go to investigate? This is just a trigger, something to give you something to do. Give your PCs something to do. Let's move on. So point 3 is going to be a natural occurrence. And that's going to happen here. And it's going to be a 17. The street here is heavily shadowed, which fits beautifully because of where the keep's at. Streets are heavily shadowed, which is going to be, for me, I'm going to say this whole area. Like this area here, those streets are going to be heavily shadowed. And that way we can link it to this seemingly abandoned keep or these alleyways. And there's a child screaming, so that adds a little bit more mystery. So now we're going to go to number 4, strange happenings. We're going to roll our dice. We got an 8. Cosmic raining of minerals begin. Very cool. That is going to fit in with this whole spirit world piece. So let me write this down. But we have a number 1 trigger, which is going to be collapse, column, stone, and dust. Number 2 is the child screaming from a window. Number 3, the streets are heavily shadowed. And number 4, we're going to have cosmic raining of minerals begin. So it's really up to you on how you want to make that all happen, but you can link some of this stuff together. I personally would probably go, this would be a separate event. This will be linked to the cosmic raining of minerals, but I would make the collapsing of the column something separate just to add some more obstacles instead of linking all 4 of them together. But I think these 2 being linked together is kind of cool, and I'll take that. And maybe they're trying, maybe the spirit world or underworld is trying to free something from the prison. So we're kind of starting to create a little bit of a scenario. But before we go too far, we want to create what is going to happen in our junction. This is going to be our big crossroad event. So here we will roll a d4 because we only have 1 big junction. And I rolled a 1, so we can put this side up away. So we have party, player, combat. So let's roll a d20. So we're going to probably have a combat here. We rolled a 10, and what is a 10 going to give us? A warrior wishes to duel you. We got a great result here for warrior wishes to duel you. We can go to the sand pits, and we can have a gladiatorial combat scenario, which would be cool. So that is what is going to happen in the crossroads. So we got all kinds of things starting to take shape in our little district of our city. Now what we're going to do is we're going to add a little bit more detail to each one of these districts by rolling on these charts. And since we have 4 cards, I'm just going to pick one from each section just to keep it exciting. And these are going to be maybe visual things that you see in the area that you might want to investigate further. So we're going to create another page because all of these can create different details. So in our 4 of hearts, what are we going to have? And we're just going to roll a d20, and this is going to give us some additional details. So we have a wanted poster, and I rolled a 15. Unknown, pockmarks, missing teeth. Since this is the entrance, maybe there is a board out here, like a little community board, and it's going to have the poster on it. That's up to you, but I'm just going to write down my details. Over here we got the 10 of spades, and we're just going to keep moving down the line here with these charts. We roll a d20, we get an 11. Black banner with a silver knight's helm. Okay, so we're going to see guild banners here, or maybe they're lining the street on either side. I would probably say they're lining the street over here because this is the training area, and maybe this black banner is the king's banner. So let me write this down. So down here in the Great Forge, we're going to have a graffiti. So what, why not? Graffiti's all over the place. 19. Portal arches of magical pigments. Okay. All right. I'm liking this. This actually kind of works pretty good for what we got here. We got this forge that's in a sunken site. So maybe there's some graffiti on the wall. That's how you have to get in. And if you're not part of the guild, or if you're not part of the forge, it doesn't allow you in, so not anybody can go in there. Again, maybe creating a little bit, maybe there's a special weapon in there and your people need, you need to get in there and break in and steal that weapon, and somehow you have to figure out how to get in there. It could be like a little puzzle piece, who knows. That's what's cool about all this, is all we're doing is creating a bunch of seed information, and we don't know where it's going to lead. Some of the stuff may go no place, and that happens a lot. 18. Glass Knight sculptures in battle. Okay, so this is our prison, which is kind of weird to have this, but maybe there could be some link. Maybe this is like older prisons weren't built like today. So maybe this sculpture is on the entrance into that prison, and it's just some sort of symbolism for, respecting your kingdom. I don't know. We'll toy around with that. This is a post edit, and when I was adding in these different little elements, like the wanted poster and the banners and the graffiti and the stained glass, I forgot to mention that there's a D4 chart at the beginning of each one to let you know where those things are placed. I just kind of got caught up in the moment, and my creativity was just kind of flowing, and I just kind of did it myself. But if you do get stuck and you want to roll on a chart, you can. Like if the wanted poster, why was the person wanted? The guild banners, where are they located? The graffiti, where it's located. And the stained glass, what kind of a building is it located on? But I just kind of did my own thing. So let's get back to the video. So now we're going to move on to just additional points of interest. So there's nothing specific about this. This is just going to be different things that can be in your city. You can roll on these once, twice, 3 times, however many times you want. You can do the D4 roll for each area and just add in these additional points of interest. Let's do what I've been doing. Let's just kind of move through and do one for each, so we get a taste for everything the game has to offer. So the first one's going to be stores, shop fronts. Even though this is the military grounds, there can still be stores and shop fronts. So let's see which one we get. 19, Weaver, Tailor. So that works. So maybe, so just because it says, Weaver, Tailor, it could also be someone that does the armory. Like they fix dents in your armor, and they fix the straps. It could be someone that repairs your equipment. So that could fit quite nicely. You can always change just enough of the information to make it feel a little bit more for the vibe that you have going on. If we want to roll a second time, we rolled an 8. Herbalist, witchery. I would be good with a herbalist. Maybe it's like a small little booth right down here. And we have a herbalist to fix all the aches and pains of the warriors coming back, from practice. Maybe they got whacked upside the head and got a headache, and the herbalist will help them. I'd probably stay away from witchery. I don't think you would find witchery in the kingdom. You could, but I just personally, I would probably just say it's an herbalist. All right, let's go to city dressing. So the next one we have is city dressing, and we're going to go over here. We got 17 rooftop ladders. All right, so here we would just make a note of, rooftop ladders and just leave it. So maybe we already got like seemingly abandoned keeps and alleyways, but maybe there's ladders going across the rooftops, or maybe just one. You can, however you want to do it, going into this a seemingly abandoned keep. That's up to you. Let's get a second piece of dressing in this area. Weak pillars. Oh, that would have been perfect over here, but whatever. It could still be tied in to something the PCs see over here. They see like some of the pillars holding up balconies and things like that are weak, like they've been hit with swords or they're just rotting, and maybe that now links into this one collapsing over here. So maybe this is the dressing they see, and then when they get over here the collapse happens, and there you go. We've just tied those together. And now we're going to come over here to a bystander in this area. We got a 10 crazed artist. Everything's linking in together because this is also the area where we have the graffiti, and it's got that pigment. So maybe you need to go find the crazed artist, and that's how you get access in. So we're already creating a little bit of a story. Let's create another bystander. We got 13 angry coach driver. I like the angry coach driver. So this could just be a person driving a coach through the city, through the roads, and they start yelling and cussing at you to get out of the road. Just a simple little encounter. It doesn't have to be the end, like this big epic thing. It could just be that simple. So now we're going to come here to dropped or lost items. We're going to roll our d20. I rolled a 17. Snapped dog collar on street. Interesting. But maybe someone's dog went missing. Maybe someone's dog got away. Maybe a guard or one of the guard dogs. Ooh, here we go. Now we got it. One of the guard dogs got away, and it's unruly. It is a guard dog, and it is just going around attacking people. Now it creates a little bit of a scenario that we have to go find this dog. And that snap could be because of the raining materials. Maybe one of the minerals raining down scared the dog. It snapped its collar from its master, and now it's running amok, fearful, and all that kind of stuff. So we can really start linking all this information together. To rolling fresh apples. That's fun. Again, the chaos of chasing the dog knocked over an apple cart or someone's bushel of apples that they were going to feed the prisoners, and they were rolling down, and now it creates a little bit of a road hazard. So really easy to start putting all this stuff together. So now we're going to create the city notice board. I've already kind of identified it as being outside the entrance into the military complex or the military district. And to be honest, I think every district would probably have its own notice board. That way it's hitting all the people, everyone's seeing what's going on. Maybe the king's going to have some big announcement, wants everyone to know about it. But this is a D12 roll, and I like, so far we've used pretty much all the dice except the D10 and a D8. So I really appreciate that, because why do we have all these dice if we're only going to use one of them at a time? And I rolled a 2. So what is the 2? Strange religious symbols on parchment have been nailed all over the notice board, and sickly citizens bow about it, muttering strange prayers, a call to action from the church. Very interesting, very, very interesting. And this can actually, tie in beautifully with all the charts that we rolled up on so far with this spirit world, underworld, beyond type stuff. So maybe we got like this weird, strange occult taking place. So let me just write all this down and we will come back and start tying this together. All right, so I wrote that down, and while I was writing it down, I was kind of thinking about what this could be. Like one of the things that popped in my head was Game of Thrones, when that other religious group started rising up and kind of created a whole disruption to the kingdom. So maybe we have something like that. Maybe this unholy spirit world has launched in some new religious beliefs or something like that. So they're, plastering on the bulletin boards all this stuff. There's a call to action from the church. But I think for right now, we're just going to have that be as background. Maybe that's part of the crazed artist. Maybe there's something linked to there. Or maybe that graffiti. Maybe this sunken forge isn't the actual forge, but maybe it's the forge has been taken over by this religious group. That's why there's the graffiti with the magical pigment that only allows certain people in. The people, and this is where they're doing their meetings. Like we got so many possibilities in front of us right now that we can really get started. And then we finish out this book with just a really great example. This is kind of how the example in the book is. It's like, here are your big centerpieces, and then you have these little outcrops and buildings going around it, creating the little pathways and the alleyways and stuff. So you can go that route. I am not that artistic, so mine are going to be really square buildings and things like that. So this is how my map turned out. What I did is I took each like quadrant and I gave it a letter label. So we got A, B, C, D. And then within each quadrant, I numbered the different sites that we knew about so far. So here is the sand pits or the training grounds. I added like some seating here because this could also be for spectator sports and things like that, kind of making it a general spot also for people who are, show off the army and things like that. We have our armory here, we have our herbalist here, but I didn't number everything else because we will explore that as, my PCs run through the area, and then we can start numbering things. But a lot of this is going to be barracks, and these are going to be like little shops and things like that. Over in the seemingly abandoned area, it was talked a lot about alleyways, so I made a lot of my buildings just oddly shaped, creating alleyways. This is also going to be the spot that's, in shadows and all that kind of stuff. And we had the one piece of dressing here with the ladder, so I wrote that in. But throughout in my book though, what I did is I took a lot of the information that we had, like the weak pillars and things like that, and added those into the notes because that doesn't need to be written on the map. Here we have our great forge. So that's the only spot we have labeled in that one. And then here we have our prison. So these are my main roads. I made them wider than the alleyways just to distinguish them as the main roads. This is like the center place or the common area. It's a little bit wider because that's where all the people, like basically cross street section, like in normal driving. So that's where I kind of made everything happen. I figured out what to do with the glass sculptures. I just put them on the door. So when people come into the prison, there's those glass sculptures on the door. They actually have some magical properties of locking the door so that people can't just break down the door and break out the people from the prison, because I'm making this a prison not of your common thugs and thieves, but this is more of a important prison where maybe they're putting in like wizards and people that have, like corrupt politicians and that kind of stuff. Like this is like an important prison where they're keeping prisoners that they need to keep alive, but they need to keep them locked up. So that's why it's so secured. And then you have all the guard barracks around it. So that's the map that I created. And I think it's actually kind of set the foundation for a wonderful little adventure. This is how the tool works. This is how the scenario builder works for the city streets, and also just a general scenario builder is you've got some cards that you lay out, and then you just start rolling on some charts, and you get all these random things. And some of this stuff you can link together. Some of this stuff you may not do anything with. That's really up to you. But I think just based on what I was describing, for a solo adventure, this would be a lot of fun. I would just play one PC. He's going in, to get ready for his first day of training. And these are all the things that happen to that PC while he's there. And maybe something will come out of that first session to lead to more gameplay or more adventure. And then we might really get into some more detail, especially with this seemingly abandoned keep. Maybe take one of my new maps and make that the abandoned keep, and I can be exploring that space. Or maybe you're a prisoner. Now, here's a whole nother scenario that could play out. Maybe you're escaping from the prison, and during your escape, all of these other things happen as you try to leave. Lots of options. So, but that's a look at it. So, Jay, thank you very much for putting together another wonderful tool that we can use to really bring a city to life, to really just do something with a city instead of just, go to the tavern and drink and find an adventure and then move out of the big city. This just adds so much more detail to the city and creates little points of interest, little things going on to make it something that we can actually play. And that's what I like about it. So thank you for watching and have a great day. Bye.